Look, it's an absolute pleasure to actually meet you today, Wayne. So we introduced ourselves before, didn't we? Back in the kitchen there. And tell me, when you first started Power Planter, how did you come up with the idea? Where did it come from?
Well, there was a fellow that wanted to plant tomatoes, and his dad knew that we had built augers, so he came out and told us that he needed something to drill a hole so that he could plant tomatoes. And so we saw a need, and that's how it came up.
Because originally you had a business that was making large augers, and they were made for, say, grain silos, for lifting the grain up the chute.
We built those augers so that farmers in the Midwest could handle seed and fertilizer in bulk instead of having to place it in bags. And so we revolutionized the way that it is handled in America now.
And we're talking quite a few years ago. How old were you at that stage?
And I was probably in my early 30s. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Quite a while ago.
Well, last week really, wasn't it?
Pardon me?
Last week?
It seems like it, yeah.
And so, look, where Greg was saying that was about 30 years ago that you were first toying with the designs and coming up with concepts, and over on our left over here is the old steel bench you were using, and we're in part of the workshop, the original workshop, aren't we?
Yes.
Where you first started that, and we'll have a look in a minute at some of the newer production facilities as well, because it's grown and expanded, hasn't it?
Oh yeah.
So all those years ago it started out for tomatoes, or tomatoes?
Other plants, tomatoes, and the thing that made us go to different size augers is that most of the live goods in America is put in gallon pots. And so we built an auger big enough that they could just take a gallon pot and put the whole batch of dirt and the plant in the hole.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So for those in Australia, just to get a bit of a conversion, a gallon is about 3.8 litres, I think it works out to be, in size. So just to give you a bit of a reference.
It's, I believe we have to have a 7-inch auger, and a gallon pot is basically 6 inches. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then did you ever think that when you were making those all those years ago, that one day you'd be exporting them to Australia and other countries?
No, it just kind of grew by topsy.
Yes.
A good quality product.
Yes.
That doesn't deteriorate, and with Greg came on. See, he taught school for 8 years, and when he came back, we just turned everything over to him.
And he's done a pretty good job now.
I guess so.
Yeah, I guess so. It's still going, so it must be all right.
Yeah.
I like him.
That's fine.
Now, Wayne, behind us, what have we got hanging up?
It's the racks that's been painted. The augers have been painted.
So pretty soon they're going to be on their way to Australia, aren't they?
Yes, sir. They're all boxed and will be shipped then to Australia.
And can I tell you, we have thousands, and I mean thousands, not exaggerating. I think it's 2,700 at the time of this video. People have written in and just raving about how good the Power Planter. I want to read one out to you here. This tool has now become my most used in the garden. Some of our garden beds bent garden forks, and you could barely get a shovel in deep enough. It's pretty tough ground in Australia. With a bad wrist, gardening became less of a chore and gave me the motivation to go out and spend more time in the sun planting the season's veggies and preparing some new garden beds for the upcoming spring planting season. This person gives it a 10 out of 10. I'm definitely recommending this to everyone who listens. that review there typifies what we actually get all the time. So we have thousands of people writing in, sending emails, creating videos, saying how this has actually helped them. It's actually changed their life, particularly the senior citizens in Australia. So the older generation are able to get back outside again and dig their ground.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of them have said, oh, I'm usually waiting for my son to come over to dig the garden. And of course that takes a long time. And so now they've got a power plant and they can get out there and dig themselves. Now, you commented before you got a lovely letter from someone. What was that letter you were saying?
The gentleman wrote and said that he has the most beautiful garden and lawn that he's ever had in his life. And the end of it was that the reason is that I'm in a wheelchair.
And so he was able to dig the garden himself, even from a wheelchair. And we've actually had the same story from Australia. I didn't realize when we first started selling this how much it was actually going to help people that were having a lot of difficulty digging.
Yeah.
And so people in wheelchairs have been writing in saying, I can grow my own vegetables now.
Yeah.
I can dig the garden. People are getting off their couch and getting back outside again.
That's right.
And getting a love of gardening again. Even young people are going, this is great. I can get out there and do this as well.
Well, it's not a task anymore, it's fun.
Yeah, it is actually fun, isn't it?
Yeah.
A lot of people said it's actually fun digging holes.
Yeah.
So look, I want to say thank you from Australia and New Zealand and the UK. I want to say thank you for what you put together. You took an idea that was being used elsewhere and you were already producing a good product, and then you said, okay, how can we take this down to grow tomatoes?
Yeah.
And that's how it all started, didn't it? And you've made it so that that's grown and progressed, and Greg, your grandson's followed through with that and turned it into a great company, and it's exporting all over the world.
I'm glad that it happened.
So great to meet you. I'm glad we came out to the US to meet you.
Thank you.
Thanks, mate.